Are you ready to think big and act bold? Then you are in the right place. This is Innovative Entrepreneurs, a podcast that will bring you the stories, insights, and tips from some of the most successful and innovative entrepreneurs in the world. I am your host, Erica Bailey, and I am here to help you start, scale, and sustain your own entrepreneurial journey. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Innovative Entrepreneurs. I am your host, Erica Bailey, and as always, I want to share my gratitude that you listen, download. I appreciate it. I hope that you get value from the amazing guests that I get to bring on. Today, I actually have the pleasure of introducing a truly inspirational woman, Dr. Denise Nicholson. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's not only an Amazon best-selling author, but is also a transformational speaker with a remarkable gift for storytelling. Now, she's originally from Jamaica, and Denise moved to Mount Vernon, New York at 13 years old and overcame, numerous challenges, including becoming a teenage mother. Through resilience and determination, she founded Bold Publishing, and this is a company that is dedicated to mentoring first-time authors. With over 100 writers turned authors under her guidance, Denise has helped countless individuals to bring their book ideas to life and turn their passion into profit. So welcome, Denise. So happy to have you.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be here. Oh, goodness. Fun.
So for those who don't know, Denise and I actually have the same client, Kimberly Mosby, and so we've had the opportunity to work together and learn from each other. And so it's kind of nice that we have that already because I feel like that's just going to make this an even better episode. So here we go. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. We've been prepared. We work with a boss lady.
Yes, we do. Okay, so the very first thing I need to talk to you about is not only do you serve people through your mentorship and guidance, but you've also served people for a long time, haven't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, in many aspects. But yes, I do now serve as both a nurse practitioner hospitalist, and I am the founder of this publishing company, Bold Publishing.
Wow, how long were you a nurse?
At the bedside, approximately 12 years, and now as a practitioner for 5 years, 5.5 years.
Bless you, woman. I mean, honestly, my mom's she's a psych nurse practitioner, and I know how much work it takes. And I just wanted to say thank you for that because we need more women like you out there. So you came from Jamaica at 13. Do you mind sharing with us some of the life experiences that brought you here and maybe what you've learned from it?
Oh my goodness, it is a story. So if you got time, I got time.
Share.
Okay, so when I was 3 years old, my mother left me and my siblings back home in Jamaica so she could come here for better opportunities. When she got here, it took some more time for her to get her children here like she had planned. So I was back home in Jamaica with her parents and my father. 6 weeks after my mother left, my father died in a terrible car accident. Yes. And now I am overwhelmed with grief because I'm feeling abandoned. I'm feeling like, oh my God, I have no parent here, no one to call on, nobody that I felt, you know, were my certainty. I just did not feel that certainty. And so I became, I don't know, I was lost for some time, just worried about, am I ever going to see my mother again? Am I ever going to have what other children around me have, which were, their parents or somebody that they felt like was the mother or the nurturer in their. So I, was moved from home to home after my father died. And that compounded the issue of feeling abandoned and now feeling like I don't have a place to call my home, my own home. So even though I was living with not parents, pardon me, I was living with family members. For example, I left my grandparents' home and to go live with my great grandmother, which is my mother's grandmother. And I stayed with her for a while, did kindergarten there, and then went on to first grade, lived with someone else for the first grade, lived with someone else, and lived with someone else. And I just kept moving from home to home to home. And so, it was terrifying sometimes because I felt anxiety, not knowing when I'm going to leave or how long I was going to be in this position. Fast forward, I was still, living with a family member, and I'm now 13 years old, still haven't seen my mother in 10 years. And my mother had a sudden car accident and she also died. And now I am without parents. When I learned of my mother's death, I was at my grandmother's home for the weekend. My aunt came. She told me, I'm coming to pick you up and I have some news. She told me that day that my mother died in a car accident. And I was devastated. A 13-year-old with no parents and no hope to have a parent, because I knew she wasn't there, but I always had that hope that I would see her again and we would, reconnect and bond and talk about all the things that I like to do and all the things that I knew was going on in her life and what she liked to do. And we would just have a really great bonding time. Well, that didn't happen, and I was devastated because I lost the hope of reconnecting with my mother. And just some of the questions that I had for her were never answered. So I learned that my mother passed away, and immediately I started to think, oh my God, life is over. I was with my siblings that day when we heard, even though I hadn't lived with them, I was visiting my grandmother, which, they lived there, and I was visiting them for the weekend, and that's when I learned. So I was with them and I saw how hopeless they also felt and looked. They just looked like, oh my God, this is it. We'll never have a normal life because now we don't even have our mother. So once I looked around, I was devastated, bawling on the floor, screaming, just grieving and crying and hollering. And then I looked around and I saw my brother and I saw one of my sister and I said, you know what? I got to make a plan. I got to get it together. And my aunt picked me up and, hugged me and she said, well, here's what is going to happen next. You guys have to go to the embassy, the United States Embassy, and ask them for permission to go to your mother's funeral. This way you can get closure. You can say goodbye then. So that's what we did. We went to the American embassy and asked them if we could get permission to get a visa, to get permission to go to our mother's funeral. So that's the beginning, and that's how I ended up coming to America.
Wow.
I know that is a lot. I warned you it was going to be a lot.
It. Okay. So you're here. Who who did you like? How did you get from that point to being here to being, I mean, we don't need all the gaps, but here to now being a teenage mother? Were you a single mom?
No, so once I got here, I was living with my mother's sister, my aunt. My mother was living in the same house with her sister. They shared a home. And so now my mother had other children. Remember, she left me and four other siblings back home in Jamaica, but now she has other children. So there were 9 of us now. She had died and left 9 children, and we all were living in her sister's home, and her sister has a lot of children also. So we all lived in that home in Mount Vernon. Now, I'm not blaming anyone for the decisions I made. I made those decisions. Eventually, I became a teenage mom. I was pregnant at 15, and yep. And then I was asked to leave because there was no space for it. Girl, where are you going with your extra child in this house? Look how many of you there are. So, yeah, I was asked to leave. And then I left and went to live with my, you know, boyfriend, which is my baby father. So I went to live with him. And so I was never a single mother because we've lived together since I was 15 and I am now 51 years old. We've been married now for over 30 years. No, that's not true. It's 29 years. But, you know, I've never, I've never been a single mother. I've had lots of hurdles, lots of struggles, lots of other things to fight through. But being a single mother, thank God that wasn't one of them because that would have just compounded the issue.
Wow. You know what? I love that though, because your story starts with fear, the abandonment and the fear, and it ends with somebody you really found that security, that connection to. And that is amazing. I mean, that's a beautiful uh end to this moment, right? To where you are now. Wow, you are an inspiration. Holy moly.
Thank you very much. I fought for that stability because I wanted it for my children. I did not have that. And I remember the things that I went through, and I'm not going to talk about some of them now, but I went through some stuff and I did not want my children to go through those things. Not that you can protect your children from going through trials, but you can protect them from going through some of the things that you've gone through. If you talk about it, if you plan for it. So I made a plan and I really wanted for them to have a home,
Yeah.
a stable home and not being moved from place to place to place. So I worked hard to create.
Wow. All right. So this must lead you into being an independent, hardworking nurse and now starting, running your business. So let's transition into that part. So tell me about your best-selling books. Let's start there.
So the book was about other women's story, including mine. So their stories were important because they were on platforms that I believed in. Like one of the story was about a woman who had a miscarriage. There are women who have miscarriages and they don't get that support, that healing that they need. So my book, I wrote this book because I wanted women to understand that you go through some stuff. It will happen. But what you have to do is seek therapy, get healing because we overlook therapy a lot of times because of culture, because of so many other things, but mostly because of the stigma on getting help. But just the way you would get help if you had diabetes, that's the same way you would go and get help if you've been through some trauma. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have therapy if you've never been through some stuff. Sometimes you just need somebody to help you lay out a plan so that you can reach for some goals in your life. And that is, part of the therapist's job. So a therapist's job. So, I wanted women to know that there are so many different ways to get help, and therapy is part of it.
Yes, yes. I totally wholeheartedly believe in therapy. 100%. Again, I was raised by a psych mom. So nurse practitioner mom. Forever.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the name of the book? Where can I find it?
So my book is Sila When Mommy Left for Foreign. You can find it on DeniseNicholson.com/book.
I need that. I need that in my life. Okay. So all of these challenges you faced as a mother and you overcame it. Why did you want to be, I mean, you were a nurse. Why did you want to be an entrepreneur? Like, how did that, I guess, transition? Because you go from a job to, being an entrepreneur. It's kind of a big jump.
So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old. As I left high school when I was I graduated high school when I was 17 years old and then went to beauty school. I was a beautician for 23 years. I owned my own salon when I turned 19.
Oh,
Yes. So guess what's even cooler?
Ooh,
I used to do Missy Elliott's hair. I was on tour with her. I did her hair for approximately 4 years. I was on the road with her, traveled with her, and everywhere she went, I was the one doing those finger waves. Yes, I was Missy Elliott's hairstylist. And I've also had the opportunity to work with other celebrities, like a group called Total back in the day, and Aaliyah, and yes, a number of people I had the opportunity to work with.
okay. Okay. First off, you had mentioned that you worked with somebody really cool, but she couldn't remember. And I'm like, oh, okay. I forgot to ask, but wow. Do you think that your childhood and growing up is um kind of gave you a platform to start as an entrepreneur? Do you think like you learned something from that to go and kick ass like this?
So I had a grandmother that was an entrepreneur, and she had a bakery, she had a farm, she sold everything. And when I was 13 years old, my sister was going to perform at an event. And my grandmother said, there are going to be a lot of people here. Make sure you have something to sell. So we had tamarind, and she created the tamarind, made the tamarind balls. And I took them and I sold them. And she was like, awesome. And she just taught me from an early age that you can not just be in a space, but you can be of service in a space. So I learned very early on to become an entrepreneur and to have that goal. So one of the reasons why I left the entrepreneur world and went to become a nurse was because I was having a very rough life. I was mentally not strong. And because I wasn't mentally strong, I was having breakdowns and nervous breakdowns and, suicidal thoughts and just not feeling my best self. And when I was in therapy, I learned that if you're not feeling your best self, to make a plan to do what it is that you're feeling like you're missing. And I was like, I've always wanted to become a nurse. And, my pastor was the first person that started my therapy. And then I transitioned into more professional therapy. But, when I spoke to my pastor, Pastor Reed said, make a plan. And what do you want to become? I wanted to become a nurse. It was just something that I always wanted to do. I felt like I did not get the best education and I could have gotten more. I could have pushed myself and gotten more. And so he said, just make a plan because if that's what you want, go get it, girl. Same thing for you listeners. If there's something that you want in your life and you think that it's eluding you for some time, just make a plan and then start the plan. Stick to the plan because it does get hard. Not because you made a plan doesn't mean it's easy. It does get hard. But what you will realize when you are doing it is that you are built for this, that you can overcome it, that you have resilience, that you can become better for going through the things that are trying to stop you from being the best version of yourself.
Girl, no wonder you like to tell. You are a badass. Thank you.
Thank you.
For sharing all of this with me, for us. Your vulnerability and your transparency is just, it is inspirational. Like, this is, wow. So, why from nursing to bold publishing? So, tell me about your company.
So I had the opportunity to work with a wonderful author when I was a bedside nurse. I was taking care of this woman, and while I was taking care of her, she thought that I was an exceptional nurse, and she gave me a lot of compliments and said, I'm going to give you a book. And she gave me a book, and she was a renowned author. And when I got the book, I said to her, that's been my dream to become an author. And she said, I will mentor you. You deserve it. And I want you to go home and start today. So she told me, go home and start writing your book, which is the book Sila, When Mommy Left for Foreign. I wrote the book. And then when I was doing the tour of the book, a lot of people had questions like, girl, how did you write this book? And I thought they just wanted to know, how did you write the book? So I told them how to write the book. And then I started getting more and more and more questions, like people wanted to know how to write the book. So I created the Write and Incubate Challenge, and that helped people to get their ideas out of their head so that they can finally become the author, because it's eluding them for such a long time that they feel like it's only a special group of people that get to do it. But it's a special group when you get help, when you know what steps to take, when you get somebody to say, hey, don't do it this way, do it this way. So I created the Write and Incubator Challenge. And then after some time, people not only wanted to write the book, but they wanted to publish their book. So I learned how to publish, and that's when Bold Publishing started 4 years ago.
What is the name for? I mean, Bolt's just awesome, but what is the name for? What does it represent to you?
You know what? Bold just means you are ready to stand on your story, because a lot of things happen to us as women. A lot of women are in my tribe, and a lot of things happen, and we are afraid to say what has happened to us. Take Kimberly, for example. We're afraid to stand up and say what happened to us because of the people that try to suppress you and to close your mouth and to say, no, you don't say things like that, or you don't let people know your business. But it is when you start to really stand on your story, which is to, I use the acronym STAND, but it's really you standing on your story with confidence. S is share your story with everybody, because sometimes you never know who you're going to help just from sharing your story. And then T, there are two sides to every story, and there's good and there is bad. But when you pay attention to the good in your story, you will realize that this story is going to help you to become the best person you can be. A, analyze your emotions. When you are sharing your story, you will start to notice some things coming up, either anger or pain or something that is worth dealing with, something that you shouldn't be putting on the back burner, but you should discuss it some more with your therapist or with a trusted therapy person, like a preacher or somebody that has been there, that knows how to counsel you. And then after you analyze those emotions, please look at how you can change, how they can benefit you. Sometimes it's anger, but you don't have to never be angry again. Turn that anger into something positive by going to some kind of kickboxing class or something that can really, you can put your anger out there, but it's part of your training and building you up as a person. Then, and there's a narrative that you can spin for your story. Yes, negative things happen. Yes, I was moved to 6 different homes by the time I was 6 years old. But guess what? Instead of saying it in a negative way, like I used to look at it so negatively, like, oh my God, nobody wanted me, I started to look at it differently. I spun the narrative. And instead of saying that, I now say 6 different people took me in and welcomed me into their home and took care of me. D, after you've done all of that, plan to distribute your story, because so many people in this world are waiting for hope and inspiration. They're waiting for somebody to give them a green light to make a move and just do something different with their lives. And so you can distribute your book. Just write a book about whatever it is that you learned from your story, and just write a book about it and distribute it globally. Stand on your story with confidence.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna go back and re-listen to that and write it down.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. So talk to me about first-time authors. Like, why is it important for you to focus on that niche? I mean, I'm assuming you to help anybody, but why is it for first-time authors? Was it because of that other individual who did the same for you? You think?
So I focused on first-time authors because I help you set up your book into a business. So after I've helped you set up your book into a business, you can duplicate it. You can do it on your own the next time. But mostly I focus on first-time authors, because it is a a huge world in the book world, and people don't know where to go. After I've taught you the first time and showed you how to navigate it and what to do and where to go and where to put your foot next, then you can do it on your own. But I helped you develop a 3-tier business so that you can have constant income coming in from this book.
Oh my goodness. So give me some advice on what you would tell first time. I mean, you have literally given us a gold mine of information. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of value coming out of this for other authors or people who had just this little inkling of telling their story, but didn't have the drive or stand to do it. So, what's some advice that you would give other than what you've already said?
So one of the things that I noticed that a lot of new authors are doing, they don't want to participate in promoting their work. Listen, it's your job, okay? It's your message, it's your job. And 100 years from now, when you're no longer here, your book will be here. So promote, promote, promote. Don't stop. You know, that's your number one job, to promote your message and your book. So that's one thing that I would say. Another thing is, make sure you get a good editor for your book. Professional editors, they make your work something that you'll be proud of. So you're not second guessing if your grammar is off. You're not second guessing if the syntax is right. You had professional help. So seek professional editing. That's another, advice that I can give you as a new author. And another thing is, don't wait for someone to give you a yes for your book. Don't wait to get permission to share your message with the world. You've learned something from it. Put that book out there. There's someone waiting to be saved with your message. So don't wait for permission. Say yes to yourself. Give yourself the permission to publish your book. And you do that by self-publishing. You don't need to wait on traditional publishers. But if that is your thing and you want to wait for traditional publishing, then do it the right way. Do it the right way. There is a certain way that you have to go out there and seek the traditional publishing and wait for them for 3 years to tell you yes. But if you don't want to wait, listen, honey, this is not the era for waiting on anyone. This is the era of who can help me, not what can I do to make this happen. Who can help me make this happen?
And Kim's got me and you, right?
Okay.
That's how we're
She's
happen.
she's fine. She's gonna be fine. Yep.
Of course she is. Of course
Yeah.
she is. Well, um, I am seriously, I'm going to say inspired over and over and over again, but you've blown my mind today. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that you came and shared all of this insight with me, with my viewers, listeners. Um, Last question, and I ask this of everybody. Uh, who do you feel is the most innovative entrepreneur that has impacted you in one way or another?
The most innovative. The most innovative, I'm still wondering, but the person that has impacted me the most is my great grandmother did. The person who has inspired me to be who I am today is my great grandmother. She spent time nurturing me, reading to me, and telling me a story every single night. And because of my love of stories, I am this bold publisher. I am this doctor of nursing practice. I am this mother. I am this grandmother. I am this person that is, head of leading authors to a retreat to help them heal. I am all of who I am because my great grandmother poured into me. And secondly, because I had a teacher in 3rd grade, Mrs. Atterbury, that said, "You write the most amazing stories. I'm going to send them to the newspaper." And she sent them to the newspaper and they published them and paid me. So I am all of who I am today because of people that just poured into me. So I would say, for anyone out there, don't skip over children. pour into them, speak life into them, speak over them. Let them know that they are amazing and that there are greatness in them.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you.
It's such a good to be here.
One of my favorites. You are amazing, and I can't wait to continue in our journey together and making big things happen. So, where can people find you?
You can find me at denisenicholson.com. That's my website. Or you can go to boldpublishings.com if you would like to get your book published, if you'd like to get your idea out of your head. You can join the Writing Incubator tribe.
Yay! Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to check that out. I got ideas now. Ellen, well, thank you again. I hope everybody got value from this. And like, share, subscribe, comment. We do answer questions, so please feel free to ask, and we will get some good answers for you. Thank you again, Denise. I appreciate you so much.
I love being here, and so I'm going to gift your audience the special 1 week into the Writing Incubator. If they're interested, just join the Writing Incubator for a week for absolutely free.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, send us all the details. We'll make sure it's in the show notes. Oh, I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'll send it over one.
You're on, honey. Thank you.
Take care, and it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, honey.
Wow, what a great episode. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want more of this goodness, make sure you subscribe so that you get notifications for future podcasts. And if you found value from this, please share it with others. You can visit our website at cwgdigital.com. This is Erica Bailey. I am your host, and I will see you next time.